You're 51 years old, sitting at your kitchen table at 6:40 in the morning, because that's when you've always been awake. The coffee's too hot to drink. Your phone's face down next to the sugar. You already know what it says. You checked it last night, then checked it again at 4 in the morning like somebody who doesn't quite trust arithmetic. $1 million. Not almost. Not on paper. Someday, if things go well. In the account. This morning. And it doesn't feel like you thought it would feel. You turn the phone over anyway. You look at it. Then you set it back down, face up this time, and you sit there in a kitchen that looks exactly the way it looked yesterday. To understand why that number lands so quietly, you have to go back 27 years, to a break room with a broken vending machine and a woman named Diane who said something in about 9 seconds that rearranged everything after it. You're 24, claims processing for a regional insurance company, 3rd floor. The break room has a vending machine that's been out of order since before you started. Nobody's fixed it. It just stands there like furniture. You make $52,400 a year. After taxes, after the health plan, after the 4% going into the retirement account because the onboarding packet said 4%, you bring home $3,040 a month. Rent's $1,160. The car's $290 with 19 payments left. Student loans, $310. When it's all out, you've got somewhere between $400 and $600 every month. It doesn't feel like the start of anything. It feels like the amount that disappears the first time your transmission makes a noise. Diane works 2 floors up in facilities scheduling. 38. Drives a Corolla with a dent she's never had fixed. Brings her lunch in the same rectangular container you bring yours in. Nothing about her signals anything. One Thursday, she's waiting on the microwave and mentions, the way you'd mention weather, that she just crossed $340,000. You stop chewing. 11 years at the company. Same salary band as yours. Adjusted for time. No inheritance, no business on the side, no lucky stock, no relative who died. Just a number she reached by doing something ordinary long enough that it started working on her behalf instead of against her. You ask her how. She thinks for a second. Not because it's complicated, but because it's so simple, she's worried it'll sound like she's holding something back. I never let it go up, she says. The spending. Every time they paid me more, I sent the difference somewhere I couldn't get at it. That's the whole thing. You go back to your desk and process claims for 4 more hours. But a sentence has lodged itself behind your ribs and will not come loose. That night, you sit down in the spare room, the one with the exercise bike nobody rides, and open a spreadsheet, not an app. A spreadsheet because it doesn't want anything from you and it can't be talked around. Every dollar in. Every dollar out. And you look at the categories without flinching, which is harder than it sounds, because they tell you things about yourself you've been half aware of for years. $162 a month on food delivered to a door you could have walked out of. $54 on subscriptions you'd forgotten were running. $280 over 3 months on a line you've labeled MISC, which is the word you use when you'd rather not look. It isn't a disaster. That's the part that gets you. You're not drowning. You're leaking. In amounts too small to notice until you stack 12 together and see the year they walked off with. So you make 3 decisions, and together they take about 40 minutes. You raise the retirement contribution from 4% to 12%. Take home drops by roughly $180, and you don't feel it the way you'd feel losing $180 in cash, because payroll is quiet in a way a wallet isn't. The money leaves before it ever arrives. That's the mechanism, and you use it deliberately. Then you open a Roth IRA. It takes 11 minutes, $500 a month, moving automatically the day after payday into a total market index fund. Not individual stocks, not whatever's climbing this month. A fund that owns a slice of every public company in the country, because almost nobody beats the market across 30 years, and most who try just pay more for the privilege of finding that out. Then the third decision, the hard one. You don't touch it. You close the laptop. You make tea, you don't drink. The room looks exactly the same. 9.5 years later, you're 33, and the account crosses $100,000. That's at roughly the market's long-run average. Some years 20%, some years negative. Nobody gets the smooth line. Here's what nobody tells you about that number. It takes longer than it should. And then it stops taking long. Most people quit somewhere in year 6 because 6 years of a slow line looks like proof it isn't working. It is working. The first 100,000 is just the stretch where you do nearly all the pushing and the money does nearly none of it. What you don't know yet, at 33, is that the raise you're about to get is worth more than the entire first 9 years. And that most people are about to spend theirs. You're 34 and you get promoted. Senior claims analyst. The title still sounds like nothing at a party. Salary goes to $74,300. The normal thing here is to feel it. To let the extra find its way into your life. A nicer place, a newer car, the restaurants you've watched other people walk into. Lifestyle inflation isn't a character flaw. It's the direction everything pushes. Moving any other way takes a decision nobody in your life is going to tell you to make. You make it anyway. The transfer goes from $500 to $1,350, past what a Roth allows in a year, so the overflow starts landing in a plain brokerage account. You keep the apartment. You keep the car, now yours outright, which makes a noise on cold mornings you've decided to think of as personality. The raise vanishes into a future you can't see. You feel its absence about 3 days, and then your nervous system files it under normal. There's a dinner around this time, college friends. Someone's in tech now and says the word equity twice. Someone else just bought a house in a suburb named after a golf course. The conversation moves the way those move, updates that are actually comparisons, wearing a coat. And you feel it, clearly. The specific discomfort of being the person at the table whose life doesn't look like progress from the outside. You don't say anything. What would you even say? That there's $132,000 in accounts nobody here can see? That your net worth is climbing faster than the guy who just took on $400 more a month in mortgage for a view of a retention pond? You'd sound insufferable. Worse, you'd sound like you needed them to know. So you order the chicken. You listen. You drive home in the car with the noise, park on the same level of the same garage, and sit with the engine off before you go up. By 40, the account's at $293,000. Salary's $88,600. The transfer is $2,000 a month, a number that would have sounded insane at 24 because your life never expanded to meet your income. 4 years after that, on a Tuesday in October, you're going to open that same app and watch $111,000 evaporate in 6 weeks. It's that Tuesday, you're 44, and the number that took you 20 years to build is smaller every time you look. 504,000 in August, 460 in late September, 412 the second week of October, then 393,466. $111,000. Gone. 22%. Every headline is using the word crash, a word engineered to make your hands do something. Sell, move it, sit in cash, anything that feels like control. This is the hardest part of the whole story. Not the budgeting, not the dinners. It's sitting still while something you built for 2 decades comes apart, and understanding, in the front of your mind, that moving is what turns a temporary loss into a permanent one. Understanding that and feeling it are in completely different rooms. You call Diane. She's 58 now, retired 2 years, in a house that is not large. She picks up on the second ring. Are you still putting money in? Yes. Then you're buying the same thing you've bought for 20 years on sale. That's all that's happening. So you keep going. You don't stop the transfer, you don't move to cash, you don't do the thing 90% of your body is telling you to do. Markets have recovered from every decline in the historical record. And that's the record, not a promise about your future. And anybody who tells you it's a promise is selling something. You've just decided you'd rather bet on that record than on your own ability to guess a bottom that professionals with better information can't guess reliably either. 2 years later, you get it back, all of it, and then some. But something else happens on the way, and it's the part almost nobody sees coming. You're 46, Saturday in spring. You're sitting in your car in your own driveway with the engine off because you got home and then just didn't go inside. The balance is $515,634. You put $34,200 in this year. The most you've ever managed, about a third of what you earn. The account grew by 36,094. You run it twice because it doesn't look right. Then it settles. For the first time in 22 years, your money earned more in a year than you did putting it there. Every year before this one, you were the engine. Starting now, you're not. You're a passenger who still pays for gas, and it doesn't go back. From here, the gap between what you put in and what the account makes on its own only widens every year for the rest of your life. That's the moment. Not the first 100,000. Not the day you crossed 500,000. This one, in a parked car, in a driveway, holding a phone. Your cousin Theo calls that night. He's 26, decent job at a logistics company, looking things up and getting more confused every hour. You walk him through it. The match at work, the Roth, the index fund, the automatic transfer the day after payday before he can develop opinions about it. The part where he doesn't touch it. And the part where the market drops 30% and he doesn't touch it then either. He's quiet a second. That's it? That's it. That sounds too simple to actually work. And you think about how to answer, because he's right that it's simple and wrong about what simple means. Simple and easy aren't the same word. Every ad, every friend upgrading a car, every algorithm on his phone points one direction. He'd have to point somewhere else for 2 decades while nobody claps. So you tell him the only thing that's ever actually mattered. Don't wait until you can do it properly. Start at whatever number doesn't scare you this week, then raise it every single time you get paid more. The starting amount is almost irrelevant. What you do with your raises is the entire game. He opens the account while you're still on the phone. $200 a month. You can hear him typing. Is this actually going to work? You look at your own screen. $515,000. 22 years. Yeah, you say. It is. What you don't know yet is that number has one more double in it. And the morning it lands will be the strangest of your life. So it's a Tuesday morning. 27 years after a break room with a broken vending machine, and your phone is face up on the table next to the sugar. $1 million. Your salary is $112,900. You've never earned $200,000 in a year. Your car is 8 years old. You live in a 2-bedroom with a balcony you paid an extra $140 a month for at 39. The single upgrade you made in almost 30 years, and you've never regretted it. And it doesn't feel like you expected. There's no sound. Nothing arrives. The building looks the same. The coffee costs the same. The morning is just a morning. What it does is quieter and bigger. It takes one category of fear and switches it off. The car that needs something expensive. The email with restructuring in the subject line. The body that develops an opinion. That whole channel of low-grade noise running under every day since you were 24 goes silent, and you didn't know how much room it took up until it wasn't there. Here's the part worth being straight about. If you'd kept sending $500 a month the whole way, never raised it, never touched a raise, you'd have $478,000 this morning, not $1 million. Less than half over the same 27 years in the same market, with the same discipline about not selling. The difference isn't luck and it isn't income. One version of you spent every raise and the other one didn't. You call Theo. He's 29 now. His balance is $71,000, and he calls you sometimes just to say the number out loud to somebody who understands what it represents. I hit it, you say. He goes quiet. Not the quiet of somebody with nothing to say. The quiet of somebody doing math, running his own line forward. What's it feel like? And you think about a break room and a woman with a dented Corolla saying 9 words while she waited on a microwave. A spreadsheet in a room with an exercise bike nobody rode. A dinner where your life didn't look like progress. $393,000 on a Tuesday in October, and your hands staying still. Like I got somewhere I started walking toward a long time ago, you say. Which is true, and isn't the whole answer. The whole answer is that $1 million is a destination, and also the clearest view you've ever had of the next one. Somewhere right now there's a 24-year-old in a break room with a vending machine nobody's fixed, doing the arithmetic on $400 and deciding it's too small to be the beginning of anything. They're wrong. It was never the amount. So, what would you tell them? Drop it below. The one thing you wish somebody had told you. And if you're closer to 24 than 51 right now, the first 100,000 is a different problem with different math. That one's already broken down, start to finish. Subscribe, and it's the next thing you'll see.